Soldier, warrior, tactician. Princess Anne is literally none of these things. So how did she get so many military titles? Like her male relatives, Princess Anne frequently wears a military uniform at formal events. But while many members of her family have served in the armed forces, the same cannot be said for Anne. As part of her royal duties, however, Anne has acted as a patron and supporter to numerous military units. Thanks to her active support, she's received numerous honorary military titles from these units as a gesture of appreciation. By tradition, working members of the royal family have the right to wear ceremonial military uniforms even if they never served themselves. This tradition has led to some controversy, however. During the preparations for Prince Philip's funeral in 2021, the disgraced Prince Andrew, who had his military titles stripped in the wake of sexual abuse allegations, announced that he wanted to wear his admiral's uniform to the ceremony. To quash the conflict, the royal family decided nobody would wear military garb, only for the same issue to reemerge in the lead-up to the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II. Similarly, some have wondered whether it is appropriate that Princess Anne be allowed to wear a military uniform to such events, especially when Prince Harry, who did serve, has been told he cannot.
Talk about a plot twist.
For civilians and retired military personnel in Great Britain, an honorary military title is typically a way of rewarding distinguished achievements or exceptional service to the armed forces. For British royals, however, getting an honorary military title seems to be a little easier. The title of Royal Colonel, for example, is bestowed by the monarch at their discretion. For instance, Catherine, Princess of Wales, was recently granted the title Colonel of the Irish Guards, and Camilla, Queen Consort, gained the title Colonel of the Grenadier Guards. No actual military experience needed. For this reason, Princess Anne managed to acquire numerous honorary titles over the years. She has even been granted promotions from titles previously given. In 2020, the British Army promoted her to General and the Royal Air Force promoted her to Air Chief Marshal. These promotions gave her honorary ranks in the Army and RAF equivalent to the honorary rank she had previously held in the Royal Navy. And the reason for these promotions was simple: they were supposed to honor her 70th birthday. While Princess Anne has been given honorary military titles in a diverse range of units and service branches, her most notable ranks are those she holds in the Royal Navy. Anne's interest in naval affairs is consistent with her long-standing personal interest in sailing, and she often makes appearances to support members of the Royal Navy and their families. In addition, she has been a patron of the Royal Navy and Royal Marines charity since 2007. The Royal Navy, in turn, has been glad to honor her for honoring them, granting her a string of naval ranks starting in 1993, when she was made a Rear Admiral. In 2009, she became a Vice Admiral, and in 2012, she was made a Full Admiral. Notably, all of these were awarded on the same date. Yeah, you guessed it, her birthday. Military titles and medals are, almost by definition, rewards given for patriotism and service to one's country. Some observers may be puzzled then to learn that many of Princess Anne's honorary titles come not from home, but from other countries. This quirk is a reflection of the United Kingdom's history. Anne's extra foreign titles and patronages come from Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, former British colonies that are still part of the Commonwealth. These countries continue to have strong historical and cultural ties to Great Britain. For instance, one of Princess Anne's earliest honorary titles was bestowed by a Canadian unit that was itself named after a royal family member, the 8th Canadian Hussars, Princess Louise's, Canada's oldest armed regiment. The regiment gave Princess Anne the honorary title of Colonel-in-Chief in 1972, and she has visited them many times since. Similarly, Anne has also been made Colonel-in-Chief of the country's Royal Newfoundland Regiment.
But I knew enough about the history of the regiment to know that it was an extraordinary history in its own right.
Besides providing moral support, her presence as a royal is supposed to celebrate and reinforce the former colony's long-standing ties to Great Britain. It sounds like getting a fancy military title can be a pretty good deal. All you need to do is be born into, or marry into, the royal family, and that title can be yours, no combat experience needed. So in principle, Princess Anne could have simply accepted all her honorary titles with a smile and never engaged with the regiments involved ever again. And with all the gossip and drama surrounding the more visible members of her family, chances are that only hardcore royal watchers would have noticed. Apparently, though, Princess Anne is not one to shirk her duties. In fact, she has often been called the hardest working member of the royal family, undertaking more public engagements than her other relatives, and taking on increasingly important ceremonial and administrative roles following her mother's death. These responsibilities include maintaining regular ties with the regiments from whom she has received her titles, something Anne continues to do to this day. Besides her many honorary titles, Princess Anne and her siblings have earned a number of prominent service medals. These were placed on prominent display during the memorial service for Queen Elizabeth. The medals sparked curiosity from spectators, with many wondering what they represent and how she and the other royals might have earned them. While some of Princess Anne's medals represent her own service and accomplishments, a surprising number of them do not. Instead, they commemorate her mother, Queen Elizabeth. These medals include the Coronation Medal, the Silver Jubilee Medal, the Golden Jubilee Medal, and the Diamond Jubilee Medal, all of which honor the Queen's long tenure on the throne. The latter medal, honoring her 60th year as Queen, was not only awarded to royal family members, but to members of the royal household, the prison services, armed services, and emergency services. Besides the commemorative medals honoring their mother, King Charles III and Princess Anne have another prominent medal in common, the Long Service and Good Conduct Medal. This military honor has taken numerous forms over the years, first being awarded to soldiers for 21 years of exemplary service. Since then, the required period of service has shifted from as little as 12 years to its current period of 18 years. You could argue that Princess Anne's medal, which was awarded by the Royal Navy, is well earned. The 72-year-old princess began her long years of public appearances and service activities at age 18, when she presided over the opening of an educational and training center in Shropshire. Since then, she has been an active supporter of numerous charities, including Save the Children UK, of which she has served as president since 1970. As for the good conduct part of the award, Princess Anne, unlike many of her relatives, always made a point of keeping her personal life private.
The pressure that is applied to the younger members of the family is always worse, because that's what the media is interested in.
Against the odds, she has given her country's infamous tabloid press little reason to write about her, and when it comes to royal reputations, no news is good news. One curious detail about many of Princess Anne's honors and decorations is that their names and the entities bestowing them don't always seem to match. An example of this is her Queen's Service Medal, which common sense suggests should have been given to her by Queen Elizabeth II as a reward for good service. In reality, however, this wasn't the case at all. The medal was actually bestowed by New Zealand. The Queen's Service Order of New Zealand was established in 1974, specifically as a way to honor civilians for exceptional community service, and those in the military are ineligible for membership. The Queen's Service Medal, which is separate from membership in the order, can also be given to citizens of countries other than New Zealand. Besides her work ethic, Princess Anne is probably best known for her horsemanship skills. She inherited her lifelong love of horses from her parents. Her mother was a dedicated horse lover, and her father, Prince Philip, was a serious polo player. Princess Anne entered her first riding competition at age 11 and quietly rose through the competitive ranks, and in 1976, she became the first royal family member to compete in the Olympics.
I started to compete. There was an acceptance. I'd give that a try and see how it went. And then it was more successful than I thought it was going to be.
Since then, Anne has dedicated part of her time to serving the equestrian and sporting communities that helped nurture her skills. For instance, she served as a British representative on the International Olympic Committee and played a major role in bringing the Summer Games to London in 2012. Thus, several of her honorary military titles reflect her interest in horses and other animals. She is an honorary colonel-in-chief for the Royal Army Veterinary Corps, which trains horses and dogs as well as their trainers for military service. In addition, the unit provides equestrian training and stable management. Princess Anne is also known to visit the unit to offer continuing support to its troops and animals. While Princess Anne publicly rejects being labeled a feminist, she spent much of her early career pushing back against the limited roles women were allowed to play in public life. During a royal visit to Australia when she was 19, for example, she decided she had enough. She later told Australian Women's Weekly, "I still got the feeling that there were women at that end of the room and men at this end of the room. I didn't go for that, so I just annoyed the men at the other end." She was pleased to discover that the men weren't annoyed by her move and were in fact happy to talk to her, although being a member of the royal family probably helped. Anne's advocacy for women's causes is also reflected in her charitable work, such as in her role as patron for the Women in Science and Engineering campaign, as well as her position in the Women's Royal Naval Service. She also holds the honorary title of Admiral and Vice Admiral Chief Commandant for the women in the Royal Navy, and the honorary title of Colonel-in-Chief in the historically female Royal New Zealand Nursing Corps.